So like I put it with this Trump speech tonight, I would rather be there and nothing happen than miss it, not be there and see something really good happen or volatile happen, right? So I'd be more mad to sit there and nothing happen and even lose a little money than miss an opportunity to make a lot of money. So that's kind of what his speeches have yielded in the past. Like I said, this ain't going to be a very long meeting because I'm doing this tonight, so I don't want to spend a ton of time projecting. I did the trading room, and now I'm doing this. So a couple things that I want to tell you guys about him, and it's not just reiterating it. I gotta get people to tell me more. I need more people to tell me throughout this year than I've gotten to tell me that you caught something big. You put on triple, quadruple the size you're used to trading and caught a few points, 10 points. Not on the whole thing, but you caught an effortless trade, whether it was something Trump said, something that hit the tape, maybe not an economic number, they're harder to catch, but something that surprised the market. And it's a couple of examples. I'm going to go over one of them in a second, but that's what this Trump trading has given us. And I think it'll continue to give us more opportunities than former presidents. It already has. I mean, generally, he just has affected with tax reform comments, pharmaceutical drug company comments, airlines, transports. There have been some very catchable moments. I want people in this community to start catching them when they happen. I want them to jump on it. Election night, and people jumping on it, make their month in a trade, make their month in a night or a day, make their quarter in a trade. So everybody in here shouldn't trade as much as you can trade, right? So it depends on what you have in your trading account. But if you got 20 grand in there, you probably shouldn't be trading your max position or max size rather. But on an event that you learn to trade, maybe you do put them on. You double, you triple click is what we used to call it. You just keep clicking, buying them, selling them, whether you're getting long or short. So I want guys to be able to catch that because we work our rear ends off to pull out some ticks and points and ticks to build a week, to build a month, and give it back and build it back up, and then you miss an opportunity where you could have made 3 months, right? Take the edge off, take the pressure off, listen, it's a lot easier to be patient when you made your month or your quarter or whatever. It just becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You don't have to go see the doctor anymore. It's a lot easier to be patient when you've caught some effortless moves and trades, and let the other guys, let the other retail people, bust their tail on trying to catch this and that. I mean, that's fine, but then they're never in a position to catch an effortless move or trade. That's a big part of the overlap. So I changed this image on the page that we see coming in from the puzzle, which used to be a map, to this image of just continuing to find overlaps between where you're at and where your edge is and what that is. And for certain people, it's different, right? It's not, everybody has a different skill set. Everybody might find an edge that's going to work more for them. But don't let yourself be surprised, as this comment at the bottom, as what could get you profitable quickly. The election night, man, there were some moves that were catchable. There were some ancillary moves that were catchable, and not just coming off a lock limit lower, but on the way down. And it's like after a while, I had my son trade on demo. He was trading on the I think the cloud, Market Delta Cloud. I don't know. I pulled up a demo account that I also have from Market Delta, and I think it was on the cloud, and because it was easy to log in. And now, I'm not kidding you, he's trading it. Now, he doesn't have any skill, but he liked the fact that he started to realize, I told him how much you make if you bought it here and sold it there, and bought it there and sold it there. He ended up making like 1,200 ticks, or not 1,200 ticks, about 120 ticks, $1,200. And he knew it wasn't real, but I hear him talking to his mom the next day, and he says, yeah, Mom, all I would do was buy or sell it and wait. And until it came back my way and profitable, I'd get out. And I said, well, great. But the point is that markets are moving, that's not when you sit on the sideline, that's when you're playing the game. So I want more people to say to me, I caught that and I made X or whatever. It's just, you got to create some effortlessness. Now, it's not always that easy. You might find a bearish remark on the tape and it's not going down. But then that also creates, well, get out, because when it should go somewhere, if it should go and you load up, then it should go. And if it doesn't, you got to get out. So volatility, when there's volatility or there should be volatility, it tells you, man, it's not going. And if it doesn't go quick, get the hell out. And it doesn't become a, well, where should I put my stop? It's just get out type of stuff. All right. So let's go on to Trump trading in two events. I'm not going to go over both, but the pharmaceutical comment January 11th of this year, and then this tax reform comment. This was a little bit more difficult to trade. This didn't react right away. This was on the 9th of this month. After this meeting, or at some point, look at, this was very catchable at the beginning of the year, January 11th. He was not expected, I don't know where this came out of, but he was talking, and it hit the wire that he had said in this meeting, and I think it was one of those round table type of meetings where the press is there, and he's meeting with leaders, and he just says something, the camera picks it up, and, they report it. He knows he's on. So the pharmaceutical comment was the drug companies have to come and bid, which means the profit margins would shrink because they can't just be, government just can't give them what they want. They've got to come ready to play here. And that was knee-jerk, potentially bearish for drug companies, which who's going to affect what sector? Biotechs. So let's bring those charts over here just a second. Hang tight. Right here, I put this long vertical maroon-like line, January 11th, 2017, around 10:20 Central Time. We broke from, and I remember the price was 68, and we broke from 68, it's a 2-minute bar chart, all the way down to 55 even. I'll do the math, that's about a 13-handle break in 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 15, 20 minutes. Quite a recovery, but if anybody is able to sell it here and have it go their way right away, you create, that's not luck. That is not luck. That's opportunity. And there's a difference. It's opportunity. If you're just short, or if you left an order in the book and you got short, and then this comment came out and the price reacted lower, that's luck. Opportunity is taking a comment, thinking it's going to be bearish, and then seeing that the biotechs get slammed. Now, I had a biotech chart up for this time, and it's gone. So I got to pull this thing back up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this in front of you in a second. We're going to make this is already the ES. This guy here is the bonds, but let's make it the XBI, right? So the XBI is going to be most sensitive to what drug companies do, right? So now we got to take this damn thing all the way back to when? January 11th, right? So bear with me as we travel back in time here. What is this? Got a ways to go. Oh, shoot. that up. All right, where are we at? I think we're in January. I think it's January. Let's keep going. It's worked out a lot better. I didn't delete this chart. I had it all lined up and set and ready to go. Gaming on it. If we had elevator music, I'd play it. Would I go too far back now? I'm in September. You gotta be kidding me. Let's start over. There we go. February. January 27th. The Ivanka comments are getting me in trouble. Here we are. This isn't, I don't know if this is it exactly, but we're going to pretend it is, because this is the move that we had. This is the biotech. This isn't the, let's just look at the biotechs. This is the biotechs on this day. And look at it fall out of bed. Now, if you guys could remember, the trading room was open at this time, right? Comments come across, they get reported by Trade the News that pharmaceutical companies, Google it. Google what he had said. And if you go, and I'm going to do it now for us. So he says, pharmaceutical companies are getting away with murder. Those are his exact words. Getting away with murder. It's reported on Trade the News. You take a look at the biotechs right away. They get slammed and get, really cracked. And the ES followed it from 68 even down to 55 even. Did it go in 1 minute? No, it went though in 15 or 20 minutes. Do you know how many people, not us, but do you know how many traders, so-called traders out there don't know what the hell they're doing? Didn't know why it was breaking? Or didn't know what to do if they did know how? Didn't know what to watch to see continuation? If you sold the ES and you continue to see the biotechs continue to get slammed, you're more comfortable staying short. If it doesn't get you short, fine, it could keep you short. Or it could get you short by watching an ancillary. Is it going to go off these comments? It's going to be bearish. Now you've got something to give you confirmation. It's like another test that's run. The doctor's looking at 2 tests to decide that you're mentally ill instead of just 1. So it's confirmation that this market is reacting to comments that they're worried about. They're getting away with murder, which means what? That they're going to have to charge less for their stuff whatever that stuff is. Happens to be drugs in this case. But whatever the stuff is, if companies can only charge less for it or are going to be mandated to charge less for it, their profits are going to probably shrink. Probably. And that's the easy assumption accurately to make. Profits shrink. Those companies' values go down, their values go down, their stock prices go down. Knee-jerk reaction is not just lower, but lower by a lot, and the ES followed it. To the tune of 13 points and 12 points. Think about how much time and effort that we put into sometimes to just get a couple points, right? How much time you put into a trade to get 5 points. The emotional capital, and then you're not in a position to sell the you-know-what out of the E-minis with quadruple the size. That's when if I had someone trading my money for me, and I use this example to give you guys a sense of what would be important to me, and if he told me, hey, I know I'm only allowed to trade 3 contracts, right, because every trader should have a max that they sign for. That's what we had in a prop firm. You can only trade up, but I put 6 on. I wouldn't have a problem with it. Good. How'd you do? He triple clicked. If you're trading 6s or you can trade 12, sell 12. I don't blame me, obviously, if you sell 12 and you get your clock clean because you didn't know which comments to sell or when to do it or if you were late or early, or those are things you got to work on and have. But my point is you could put more on if you're good at accurately assuming what a comment could do to the market. We could have this tonight. So I've went over this before, but it's important to go over it again and again and again. One thing I've learned from people is that, including myself, people don't listen. We're all guilty of that. So I could have said this 1,000 times, and some of you guys are like, hey, man, that's a good example. I didn't know about that. You didn't know about that. You've been with me every day. But you know what? Sometimes I'm guilty as charged too. Doctor tells you to do one thing, we don't listen, right? But you gotta, this is important. I really want people to be able to catch things like this. It might not happen tonight, but it's going to happen throughout the year. And it doesn't have to be Trump. It was Dudley last year. It was Comey sending a letter to Congress. And there was others that are catchable moments, tradable moments. Comey's letter. Did you ever listen to, if you ever listen to golfers, this first thing comes to my mind, like professional golfers, and they're talking about, the 1968 U.S. Open. It was the 17th hole, and I remember, I was 20 yards shy off to the left over at Oakmont. They knew where it was, what the shot was, and the hole 50 years ago. Comey's letter came out at noon Central. We were trading 35 half. We broke to 32 quickly, back to 33 half to 28, and ran it down to 16.15. Go look at it. 11 days before the election. Man, look at this market getting destroyed as we're doing this meeting. Sure enough, nothing happens. But Bruce had a good call where he said there'd probably be some position squaring at some point to sell us, to push this thing lower. And we were right on. Good call. Look at this. 4 P&F. Nothing happens. Should have been able to rally here. Couldn't. If you were still bullish in here, you're crazy, right? Transitional moment was after 10:30. We got off. Transitional moment was when they took back the VWAPs. So you were bearish. I don't care if you're short or not. You were no longer bullish. And they just took out the lows. And now this is this position squaring ahead of this comment. We'll go over tonight what the market did today and what kind of premium is left. I mean, there might not be as much bearishness if we sell off a whole bunch before he leaves out details. Because I think that's the probability. The probability tonight is that the omission will create direction. I think the investors are looking for details on these tax reforms, and I don't think they're going to get it. What's hard is how do you time that omission? I covered it briefly, but I'll elaborate now. How do you time the omission? Well, in any kind of speech like this, he goes from one topic to another. So when he leaves tax reforms and gets into healthcare or foreign policy, whatever the next topic is in a speech, the body of the speech, then it's pretty clear that he didn't give the details that maybe investors in the markets wanted to maintain the strength. Because right now it's built in that the tax reforms and the deregulation and that environment, more business-friendly U.S. environment, is creating all this upside since November 8th in the election. Now, we've been saying this right along. It's buy the rumor, sell the fact. So buy the anticipation of all these great programs. And even if the programs are great, the premium's already been built in. And the dumb pundits will say, oh, they didn't really like the tax reforms. No, they're still much higher than they were when they started pricing it in. The market's always forward-looking. And that's another way to trade an event or a number, is when it should be bullish and it's not. It's because the smart money's getting out of their longs because they built in the bullishness already. Right? Man, this thing just went to 62 quarter area and then just took it out. This is not just a long 4 P&F bar. It's super long in a day that nothing was going on, right? I mean, it's long in a busy day, let alone a slow day. Nothing, I'm looking on the wires, nothing crossed to create this weakness. I think it does have a lot to do with they couldn't take it. They couldn't take it lower. They couldn't take it higher. They couldn't take it lower. They couldn't take it higher. They eventually said, all right, now we're taking it lower. Man, you got a red minus 43 delta after this push. Got up to almost minus 50,000. No, 45 down here. This thin spot should be some overhead resistance. So we'll see where we're at tonight regarding how much longs may be puked and covered ahead of this speech to kind of take some risk off. Always remember this, risk on means buying stocks. It's always the riskier play in investment. Higher rewards but higher risk. Risk off means people are selling their stock positions, maybe going into something safer like treasuries. So you should get an opposite correlation between stocks and bonds tonight if there's some volatility injected by any of his comments. What kind of questions you guys have? Make sure you got the link to get into the room tonight. It's a different link than the room or the Edge meeting. So make sure you have that link. If not, tell me in this chat and I'll give it to you. And if you want to read a couple articles I pulled from Bloomberg, could help you. Carl doesn't have it. That's not on accident. Here, Carl. You're going to have to pick apart the links, but they're all jammed in there. John's got it. Everyone's got it. Peter says the finance chair said something to the tune that it's not easy to change the U.S. tax system. Thanks, Peter. And what time was that at? Right before we went down. Good. I mean, just coincidentally, I wasn't in front of my workstation, but if you were and you sold it in anticipation of what we're kind of anticipating for tonight, maybe happening sooner, it's hard to change the tax code. If they don't change the tax code, and that's kind of given out tonight or clues of that where he backs off tax reform, and I think he might say it in such words like, we're going to do the taxes, but we're going to have to push it further back than we thought because of how big of a mess Obamacare is, and we have to take care of health care, and then we'll move the taxes. That'll be bearish, and I think that's how it'll come out. So right before we roll through 63, right in here, Peter. So I'd be so proud of someone that sold it in anticipation of a move lower, and if it didn't happen, you couldn't be ashamed that you took a shot. That's not as clean. I mean, the whole thing is, it's like, well, you hear that comment, I think it's bearish, you sell it, well, is it bearish? Yeah, we're moving lower. Well, then you're right. You know what I mean? You take a shot and look and wait for the reaction. Sheriff Tom is with us today, you know? When he's shooting at a suspect running at him with a gun, He doesn't have a lot of time, but after he shoots him, the guy drops, he hit him. Chances are he hit him. But you got to take the shot. I think it is too. And you're right, Tom. You know more about it than I would, but you don't think you just shoot. It's a reaction. And you're trained to react that way. But you're not thinking. You're reacting diligently to training that you've taken and how to handle and understand danger and what to do with it. Because as soon as you think you're dead, the guy's up on you. Trading isn't much different. And that's why, even though guys might not want to trade fast, man, I want to get people to think faster. The faster you think, the slower it looks. And you got to be the guy you don't have to be as athletically gifted to stand on a pitcher's mound and throw 95 miles an hour in Game 7 of the World Series. But from a mindset standpoint, you got to train yourself that guy is not thinking about how many people are watching him and how much is on the line, or he wouldn't even be able to get the ball halfway to the plate. He'd be sweating, be shaking. Think about it, right? You let his emotions run and felt the moment, he couldn't perform. How are you going to perform? And that's what I try to do with people is take the skill set needed for trading and adapt it to what you're used to and what you've been good at. And so many of you guys have been good at other things. Just try not to I think Steenbarger said something like this, where think about what you've done successfully in your life and figure out what it was you did and try to then use it here. You still have to find out what skill set would match that skill set you were successful at. For Tom's sake, it's him being in law enforcement. He didn't have time to think. But he also can't just go bang, 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 bang either, right? That guy looks like he's going to hurt me. Well, he's 300 feet away running the other way too. So you got to have some training, know what you're good at, and diligently react. This is interesting. I don't think it's stuff. Be careful trying to sell it here. I don't think it kills you, but I think that this comment could have repriced. It did reprice the session. So instead of staying in a 7-5 point chop between even 62 and 68, the price of poker's changed here. And the Bears are going to want to keep us outside of yesterday's low, 61. They're going to want to hold this thin spot. They're going to want to hold this thin spot. They're going to want to hold where it rolled over. Those are three moments that the Bears need to defend. Well, you could be stuck short from here and here, and we're up here. So you got to be careful with that. You got to also remember you missed something. So if you're trying to catch this big move down, too late. If I'm trying to sell it because I'm pissed because I didn't sell it up here, what kind of skill is that? I'm selling it. I want to get short here because I missed getting short there. Better have other reasons. Conditions match the training is what Tom says. So know what the conditions are to match your reaction in getting short and getting long. And if you don't have, we'll call it Trump trading, but event trading as a tool in your toolbox, man, you're cutting yourself way short of getting and staying successful in this business. I see how hard you guys work, and it's a credit to yourselves. Don't let this not be a tool. So in the Edge team room, right, I was in there, but I had a friend of mine that prop trading friend of mine. He knows Brad. He knows Woj, some of the other contributors to the Edge. We all came from the same firm. He actually started before all of us, 2 years before me, in 98, when nobody knew what electronic trading was. He was trading the Boone. And we were going to go out to lunch. He comes into the office, and we're hanging out. And I said, do me a favor. I said, listen into this team room. And I left, and it was under my ID, and he was just listening. I didn't want anybody in the team room to know that even I was in there. So I think it was on the other room, listening back into that room. And he listened for not a long time, but I said, hey, what do you think? He says, oh, these guys, they know what they're talking. They sound like they know what they're talking about. He says, that's all I could say. So I'm impressed. And part of it was when you guys had called out that one mini guy when you were talking about commissions, and he was laughing about that. He's like, they should know that knowing all that is advanced knowledge, and knowing the fact that the guy was saying how much he was, how big he was trading, how many contracts he was trading, but someone, I think it was George, called him out and said, do you got a seat? You lease a seat? Nah, it's not worth it. Not worth it. You got to be kidding me. But then there was a lot of other things. You guys were talking about the Delta. You were talking about just the I wasn't expecting to do this. It was a last-minute thing, or I would have had him write notes on it and everything. But he says he was impressed. He says, this reminds me of the environment that we come from, where guys are talking about things that are relevant, he said. He says, these guys know what they're talking about. And I says, good. Now, I know that. I wanted him to say that so then I could tell you guys that, because I don't think people could be complimented enough if it's genuine. So the finance chair said something to the tune, it's not easy to change the tax system right before we got hit here in the 63 even area. I'll have him in one of these meetings to talk about his past and what he thought. But the point is that it's so damn hard to being alive. It's not practical to physically be around other people. You guys are from all over the country and all over the world. So the best you're going to do is to have a virtual environment. So stay with it. Right now I see this thin spot, okay, it holds. See this green in here? That'll hold on the downside. But we've repriced with new information. And I think the market's smart money, like us, understand what potentially could be baked in before this speech and what could come out of it. I don't want to see this market trading in the 40s before tonight. I want to see us up here. The higher it is, the better. There's more premium to get bearish and go down. But that's what I want people to focus on, is sharpen. It's got to be one of your tools. I don't care what your style, your time frame, your market, what you like better, worse, chart-wise, platform-wise, mouse-wise. If one of the tools isn't event trading, then it's like not having a hammer and you're a carpenter. You got every other tool but not a hammer. And you don't know what a nail is. Get good, get better at it, or get good at it, both. Neither. Maybe we'll have a chance to do it again tonight in this speech. It's not a State of the Union officially. It's the same concept. Be introduced, walk in, we'll talk, we'll go from topic to topic. Some of the outlines of it have been released, but the details I think will be missing. Covered again tonight. Make sure you join the link. People watching this on recording in the future, it's obviously is come and gone for you guys, but for everyone live, make sure you have the link. If you don't, tell me. I'll pop it back in. It's a different link and webinar than the room or these meetings. I know someone's going to say, I can't get in through the room link. I said this in the trading room. And that's when we're going to send someone to throw him out a window. Unless it's Tom, because he's carrying. There's a bunch of links in there. You're going to have to pull it out, Clayton, but you'll see it in there. There's also links to those two articles to help understand what maybe they're expecting out of tonight's speech. Going back to this, I've said this again and again and again. I don't care if you like or hate Trump. It's none of my business, nor do I care. But you should like what he says and understand what he says and be able to like what he says in your trades. Man, tell me this. Tell me if you, as a political, if your political preference is you don't like Trump, fine. But he says something that you might not even like tax reform, and you're able to get short dozen contracts, and you make $4,000. I bet you like what he said. And then there could be a guy who really likes Trump, and they got caught in something he said. They didn't like him. So pull yourself and your political preference away from it, detach it, and make the opinion the market's opinion, and follow it. And try to jump on events to make your month or your quarter in a trade and take the edge off. We'll see you guys tonight. If you can't make it, don't worry. You might not miss anything, or you might, but it is what it is. If you worked for me, traded under me, you'd probably be forced to be there.